UIC. Freedom the people of need. Hell yeah. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. That when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once we safe. UIC run the road long time. GLP and PMP I sell we out. Still I do the test even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them catch we and hang we know. No force no coercion, me freedom in a step. No one fi rob we and kill we and feel them and go make it out. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. Yeah, real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow.
Yeah, not too sure why we're always having this problem. Can you hear me? It says it's low and it's muffled. Uh, what can I do here? Why do we keep having these problems? You know, I do, you know, you can hear me now. Wow. Okay. And all I did, is just fiddle with the thing. I didn't do anything. So yeah, I'm here. I was saying welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. Joseph Patterson here, President of UIC Jamaica. The topic for tonight's discussion is miscarriage of justice. The Supreme Court delays the hearing of a human rights, a fundamental human rights case that has been brought against the government by the UIC for infringing on the rights of the Jamaican people over the last 2 years under the DRMA. So I've been in court like twice this week. Well, from last week Wednesday to this week, Friday. So a very short time at the Supreme Court. Having gone to several other sittings of the lower courts concerning the charges the government brought against me for supposedly breaking their rules. And so one second here, I'm getting a call. I think it's Winston who's supposed to be on with me. Hi, Winston. Well, that went very quickly. Yeah, so I want to talk to you tonight about what's actually going on here with that. Just a second here. Yeah. So how are you doing? Good night. Um, Welcome, Builder All affiliate. Welcome, Ken Francis. What's that now? Quinn Meeks Amadi, Liddy Williams, Connie Stylos, Vincenzo Crawford from over there in Manchester, Janet Chakanowski in Trelawney, good to see you on. Sapphire, good evening, good to have you on as well. Yeah, so tonight we have some very serious development. Yeah? It's the government is very committed to silencing me and the UIC. Very committed. You would have seen where a number of demonstrations have happened across the country at different points in time, before and after I was arrested. And in all of those instances, nobody was arrested. But on September 22nd, the government saw it fit to arrest me for leading a peaceful demonstration, um, in Kingston. They claim that I broke the Public Order Act, which says you need to have a permit from the police, which is by extension the state, a permit to peacefully demonstrate. But my sound gone again? What is going on here? How is this? Any better? Can you hear me? Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Good evening, Latoya. Can you hear me? Okay, hearing now. Something has to change. I don't know what to do. I try different settings, and there's always these problems. And only when I come on this, like I have Zoom calls all throughout the day for business purposes and all kind of things, and I have no problem with my mic. The only time I seem to have a problem with my mic is when I'm on a UIC event such as this. That's the only time my mic doesn't work. So that's just so interesting. Why is it that the mic only fails to work when I'm on a UIC event, especially like a YouTube, live or something? We have a problem. But anyways, as I was saying, on September 22nd, I was arrested, and ever since then, I've been going to court every month, twice a month roughly. I go to court for charges laid in Kingston for the march that I did, the walk that I did in Kingston. I go to court for that, at Halfway Tree. And then I go to court in Mandeville for the Walk for Liberty we did in Mandeville, for which we were actually given the okay by the superintendent on hand. He, said as long as you're not doing anything violent or obstructing traffic or whatever, you're fine. But then when they arrested me in Kingston, they trumped up charges and brought an arrest warrant, uh, while they had me in custody in Kingston. So they charged me for breaking the DRMA in Mandeville when we did the Walk for Liberty there. And then they charged me again for breaking the DRMA and the Public Order Act in Kingston, where I was arrested and physically abused, um, and then I have to be going to court over and over. Now, the reason I'm going to court so often at the local court level is because it's because the way it works, because they charged me and then I countercharge them. So I countercharge them to say, wait a minute, you you have violated my human rights by having a DRMA that says that I cannot freely walk and move and assemble in my country. And you're trying to take away my freedom of choice as well. So I have brought a charge against them. Now, this charge we brought to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court has to rule on whether or not my constitutional rights were breached before the lower courts can deal with the supposed violation that the government brought against me. So once the Supreme Court has ruled, then at the lower court level they can then resume. So until the Supreme Court has ruled, I have to go to court every single month or so, or every other month, depending on when they put a date, a mention date they call it. I have to go to court. Now, of course, that's a 2-hour drive from here to Kingston each time and 2 hours back. That's half a day's work, plus the time itself in court, which is another hour or hour and a half, depending on how things are going, the wait time, the getting in, the process, and then getting out. So easily, in fact, every time I go to court, that's an entire day off from work, which is very costly. And they know that, right? So they know that. Um, and it also means that I am restricted because I can't go about my regular business because I always have to be available to go to court. And if I don't go to court, then they will issue a warrant for my arrest and they would revoke bail and lock me up. Yeah? So that's how the government is trying to contain me. By locking me up, they also hope to intimidate me so I'd be afraid to lead any further demonstrations and afraid to challenge the government because anybody who challenged them, they're going to crush them because you see that the state has this very powerful position. They have our tax dollars and they have our police, and so they can crush the citizens. And that is why it's so important for us to design a different system of governance to protect us. So let's continue. So last week, Wednesday, we finally had a chance to sit before Justice Nembhard of the Supreme Court to look at kicking off the case at the Supreme Court level concerning the charges I have brought against the government that they have violated my constitutional rights. And by extension, they have violated the constitutional rights of not only those that were arrested with me, but all Jamaicans who were arrested, all Jamaicans who have been fined, all Jamaicans who have had their lives tremendously upended by the government, uh, by their disaster risk management act. Yeah. And so now we got our first hearing with the Chief Justice last Wednesday, and they scheduled another meeting for this Friday at 2 o'clock to now talk about scheduling the dates where it would appear before the three justices to now start the formal case, and then for the judges to hear the submissions from the two sides, and then finally have a ruling as to which side is correct. Now, I am sure that we're correct. I am sure that we, the people, have our rights violated and that the government is going to lose this case. So because they know they're going to lose this case, because Andrew knows that he's going to lose this case, what have they done? It would appear that those at the Supreme Court, I guess the registrar, who also reports to the Chief Justice, have now apparently colluded with the Prime Minister and the Attorney General to say, let us put the case off until May 2024. Think about that. Until May 2024. They're going to put off the case hearing until May 2024. What does this mean? It means that between now, we're in 2022, we're in March of 2022. So the remainder of 2022 and all of 2023 and the first 4 to 5 months of 2024, I will remain in limbo, going to court at the lower level month after month, taking up more of my time, more of my energy, and they hope that over the course of this period, the Jamaican people would have totally forgotten about COVID, about Joseph Patterson, about the UIC, and we would be forgotten, and they would be able to fool the people yet again into giving them another year on top of by then, they would have gone, 78, 79, 80, and they'll now be in their 81st year of governing this country. And they would now be in a position to ask the people to give them another 5 years so that they can rule us for in total 86 years. Yeah? So they're hoping that they can get you to forget what they have done to you, what they have done to our country, by putting off the case, denying the Jamaican people justice, all those persons that they have locked up unjustly, all those persons they have fined unjustly, all those persons whose businesses they have destroyed unjustly, all those Jamaicans who they have violated their rights, they're hoping that they can get you to forget and to move on and to yet again elect them for another 5-year term. These people are wickedly smart. They're smart enough, but they're wickedly smart. They're committed to destroying the Jamaican people by any and every means necessary. And they will destroy anybody who gets in their way if we allow them. Now, it's very important that we don't allow them. It's very important that as a people we stand up. It's very important that as a people we decide that enough is enough and we are not going to allow these two parties any further latitude to take away our rights, to extract our wealth, and destroy our people. We must stop them. Yeah? So here's where we are now. We should have had local government elections last year. Is it last year? By this year, February. So by February 27th, we should have had local government elections. This is after they put off local government elections before. This February 27th, they decided that they were not going to have elections because of the, what you call it now, the so-called pandemic. They're not going to have election because, there was a dangerous virus going around and they need to protect us from this dangerous virus. So they were not going to have local government elections. Yeah. However, they had general elections when it was worse than this. They had general elections back in September when we had even more cause for concerns and there was no pressure to have elections at that time. They could have delayed the elections, but they didn't. But this time around, because they saw that the UIC was getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and people were doubting them more and more and more, they decided to postpone the election for another year. And that year stretches to February of 2023. Listen carefully. That delay stretches from now to February of 2023, and they have put my court case to May of 2024, which means the people of Jamaica, when they go to the polls in 2023 or earlier, because remember the Prime Minister can call the elections at any time before the date. So the next local government election is not going to be on February 2023 necessarily. It can be January, it could be the previous December, it could be November, it could be October. In fact, if the Prime Minister wanted, he could call it next month. He won't call it until it's most favorable for him. That's one more significant flaw in the electoral system that the UIC is going to get rid of. We're going to have fixed election date, something the Prime Minister promised you from 2015 that he would have implemented within the first 100 days of 2016 when he was elected. We're now in 2022. You see how much you can trust the Prime Minister? You see how much you can trust either of those two political parties? They've made so many promises to us. They've promised us long ago that they would have gotten rid of the Queen if you just elect them. Elect me and I will get rid of the Queen. Elect me and I'll get rid of the Queen. That's what they've told us in many years past. And 78 years later, we still have the Queen and we're about to roll out the red carpet for some of our family members who are coming here. And we're not giving them a loan to come here. We're going to pay a part of the cost for them to come here. Okay? But our students who were stranded in Ukraine, we had to make a public spectacle of them and offer them a loan for them to be rescued by their government from a very um, volatile situation. That's the kind of government we have. And they're about to trick the people again. So now they're going to treat you nice. Now they're going to, go into communities and put up signs to say free Wi-Fi. Now they're going to give out special care packages or monies. They're going to offer scholarships and programs. They're going to fix a few more roads. And they hope that they can once again deceive the Jamaican people into voting for them yet again. Now I put this to you. I put it to you. How many more years will we allow them to trick us? How many more years will we allow them to deceive us? And here is the great deception right now. They know that they have set the next local government election to be no later than February 2023. But they have put off the case where I have challenged their constitutionality, the constitutionality of their behavior. I have challenged it. And what they have done is to put off the case to to May of 2024. I want you to watch a video where the Chief Justice himself said this kind of behavior was wrong, that this kind of behavior should actually cost and could cost these justices their jobs. I want you to listen to the Chief Justice in his own words as he shares with us at an earlier date how much he is against what is happening to me and the Jamaican people right now. He says that is wrong and that it should not continue. But yet still,
this evening, a call from Chief Justice Brian Sykes for judges to hand down swifter judgments where possible. It comes with
but
a
yet
warning
still,
that they could lose their job in
the Chief
instances
Justice
where it is
himself,
found they have
one
failed
second,
to efficiently.
the Chief Justice himself is in a position now to do the right thing. Now, I don't know if the Chief Justice is necessarily aware of this particular case, though I would be very surprised if he's not. He must be aware. This is a very important case. This is the single most important case in Jamaica right now, because this case speaks to the government's alleged violation of the basic fundamental human rights of the people of Jamaica. And the question is, will the Chief Justice recognize the magnitude of this case? Will he recognize the magnitude of this case and say to his registrar, in the interest of the people of Jamaica, we must move this case from way down at the bottom and move it right to the top so that the question can be answered immediately. Has the government of Jamaica violated the rights of the Jamaican people? That is the question that the Chief Justice and every justice, every judge, every Jamaican would want to be answered as quickly as possible. But so far, in a very nonchalant, comfortable way, we were told today in court that that the court system, the registrar, can only find place on the calendar for this very important case in 2024 of May. What a travesty. What a disgrace. What a denial of justice. It's unbelievable. But I wanted to hear from Justice Sykes himself, how he thinks of this behavior, what he said about this behavior, and whether or not we're going to be able to see his actions be consistent with his words. Does the Chief Justice believe that justice delayed is justice denied? Does the Chief Justice of Jamaica believes that justice delayed is justice denied? And is he willing to deny the Jamaican people the right to hear right now whether or not our courts, our Supreme Court believes that the Prime Minister was right in what he has done to the Jamaican people, or was it a violation of their human rights? We need to hear from the justice system whether or not we can trust it to uphold our rights and freedom as a court. And so far, that is in grave danger and great doubt at the moment. Because as you can see, to our court system, it is a light matter whether or not we quickly address any concerns of human rights violations. So let's hear from the good man himself, what he thinks about our justice system. Listen carefully, listen to every word that he says, and then see if his words are in keeping with the actions of the Supreme Court as of today. Listen carefully.
This evening, a call from Chief Justice Brian Sykes for judges to hand down swifter judgments where possible. It comes with a warning that they could lose their job in instances where it is found they have failed to efficiently rule on matters. TVJ's Dwayne Anderson tells us more.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes says for 2.5 years he has listened to the concerns of the Justice Minister for Jamaica's courts to be more efficient. In turn, the Chief Justice is asking judges to manage their time better when handling cases. Failure to do so, he said, could have dire implications.
Because a good argument can be made, I think, that undue delay in the delivery of judgments is unethical conduct. And there's now a growing school of thought that persistent and chronic non-delivery of judgment may rise to misconduct in office sufficient to warrant removal from judicial office. And so it is something that we as judicial officers now need to begin to take on board.
The Chief Justice said the advent of technology and with it new observers means the judiciary is under the microscope. This, he says, is however not a green light to entertain hopeless proposals from lawyers and their clients in the name of politeness.
In effect, we are becoming the goldfish in the aquarium. And just about everyone now has a cellular phone, a mobile phone with camera, and this means that our every move, even public and private spaces, our utterances can now be captured digitally for posterity and posted on the various social media that exists, Twitter, Snapchat, and the like. And so the very existence and use of social media in the context of freedom of speech, a right that judges also enjoy, now poses serious challenges as far as judicial conduct is concerned.
Chief Justice Sykes was speaking at the University of the West Indies UA Mona over the weekend, where a refresher program is being undertaken for members of the judiciary. Among the training is a focus on ethical practices.
Judicial office isn't for them. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but the truth of the matter is that judicial office comes with its own restrictions, and people really should know what it is that they are getting into before they get into it. And then having gotten there now, they feel that it is too late to turn back. And so we are seriously thinking of whether or not persons should really be exposed to what it really means to be a judge in the truest sense of the word. It's not just a matter now of deciding cases and writing judgments, but how it affects your family, your children, places that you go, places that you don't go.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Yeah, so you heard the Chief Justice. He made it very clear that he believes it's unethical for us to have undue delay in the legal process. And he also made it clear that these undue delays could amount to misconduct and therefore the removal from office of those who fail to perform effectively in addressing the needs of the Jamaican people to speedy justice. I would like to think that the Chief Justice would apply those same thoughts and consideration and concerns to the case in question, because this is not just about Joseph Patterson or the UIC. This is about all Jamaicans who would have been wronged, possibly wronged, by the Prime Minister. Of course, I'm sure that we have been wrong, but we need to hear from our judges whether or not they agree with the UIC that the Prime Minister's actions were were unconstitutional, unethical, immoral, um, and border on being illegal. Now, of course, there are many things that can be legal but are wrong. Like slavery was legal, but it was wrong. So we won't just base our argument on the legality of anything, but rather the morality. And then, of course, while we're appealing to a constitution that is obviously weak because it was not entirely written to protect us, it still affords a limited amount of protection that we need to explore and enjoy to the fullest. And so clearly the Prime Minister thought that in his position as Prime Minister, he could impose a DRMA based on the arguments set forth concerning this so-called pandemic, and to use that to deny us our basic fundamental rights, and to go as far as to arrest people for peacefully protesting, and to set all manner of draconian measures and fines to oppress the Jamaican people, in his effort to, in my opinion at least, force a particular medical product on the Jamaican people, as opposed to protecting the rights of the Jamaican people to their personal individual sovereignty to decide what is best for them. I see Mr. Winston Wright is on. Let me welcome Winston. Hey,
Hi,
Winston.
Joseph. Good night.
Good night to you, sir. Thank you for joining me. I know you are rushing home from work, and you have made a special effort to join us tonight. Everyone on the line with me is the chairman of the UIC, Mr. Winston Wright, who is joining me from uh, the beautiful parish of Westmoreland. Welcome, Winston.
Thank you, Joseph. The parish is beautiful, but the people are suffering. But I'm not here about the people tonight. Let me borrow your mic for a moment to speak to the Jamaican people. If you'll allow me, Mr. President.
Sure, go right ahead.
So I'm talking tonight to the hard-working men and women of Jamaica, whether they're home and abroad. I'm here tonight to talk to the young professional, whether they are home and abroad. I'm here to talk to the aspiring youth, to the aspiring lawyer, to the final year law student, to the final year political science student, to professionals all over Jamaica. And I'm deliberately not speaking to the current crop of career politicians, because in my eyes, they are irredeemable. I'll stop there and say this. I was just given the news, when just as in today, that your case has been set for mention in 2024. Your most important constitutional motion, which is you asserting your right as an individual against the injustice, the tyranny of the system of governance as it exists in Jamaica, as it did in the colonial era. Because those laws have not changed. We just added new law to a corrupt system, to a draconian system. Now, how can the Justice Minister claim that he's doing a good job when a citizen cannot go to the court and get speedy redress for a matter that they face in this country? Yet, they claim that this country is free, one, and two, we have a properly functioning tourist system, and most importantly, that he's doing a good job. This is totally unacceptable. It is hypocritical and lazy. The UIC has a program as part of our security program where we talk about justice and how justice should be delivered and will be delivered under UIC government. And what I see meted out to you, Mr. President, gives me the confidence, the belief, the drive to push the UIC's agenda. Because this government cannot, and all the government, both parties and the governments they have formed so far, cannot be allowed to continue to disadvantage the poor, where they create a system where justice, as the saying goes, justice that is delayed is denied. So they are denying you justice. You have suffered financially, and you have suffered psychologically and physically. And you are going to the courts of Jamaica, which is the final arbiter, to say, I want to know if I am right in this matter. And they are telling you that you have to wait 3 years. Because that's what it turns amount to. I wait after 3 years to find out if you stand on correct grounds, while the government continues to carry out its illegal act. Because in my eyes, and the eyes of many Jamaicans and all uniters, this law, among 4 laws that was brought by this government, is wholly unconstitutional and therefore illegal. Worst of all, for the people, such as those young men that were locked away for well over 13 months, without any justice, without appearing in front of a judge in a court of law in Jamaica. They were denied the same justice that you are being denied. And it is seen clearly that this is a ploy by this government to use the inefficiencies and inadequacies of this country against the people for their benefit. Because if this law, and when this law is struck down as unconstitutional, it now means that redress will be owed to every single Jamaican victimized under this law, from the famous celebrities to the poor kid in Falmouth, in Portland, sorry. I think I lost you.
You're back now. You're back now.
Yes, so this poor young man in Portland, I think, that was charged this horrendous sum. A 17-year-old was not worked, right? And all of these people will be entitled to redress. So the millions that a politician brought up in the Senate as a concern that the government is bleeding poor people with these laws, will be validated, and they will need to give redress to every single one of these people. And that is why this delay tactic, that is why you are being victimized, Mr. President. And I'm asking every well-thinking Jamaican, home, abroad, everybody that I mentioned earlier, to go on the DPP website, to go on the Justice Minister's website, to call their offices, to write to their offices. It takes only 2 minutes out of your day and voice your discontent, your utter disgust with what is going on in this country. Because they have made law and justice the purview of the privileged and the connected few, the well-off. Because when you have to go to court and face a judge, you are paying a retainer to a lawyer, and you are paying him for each appearance fee. So each time you appear in a magistrate court, Mr. President, it is costing you. And it is also costing you in other ways, because it's taken from your business and your time. And those cannot be regained. And yet the Justice Minister says that justice is being served in this country. He should be drummed out of office as a hypocrite. Because your matter should be one of those matters that gets elevated for mention, because it is a constitutional matter which affects the running of this country. Now the UIC says this: we will free up more courtroom spaces and allow these critical cases to have proper mention by simply doing this: reactivating the petty session courts so that smaller matters can move to those courts, appoint more judges to the resident magistrate benches so that these resident magistrates can supervise the petty session courts as in the law, and also hear matters, which will now free up other matters to be mentioned properly and give more room for the Supreme Court calendar to be managed better. A simple solution that is not genius, but because the current system serve their corrupt means, they are not eager to change it in any substantive way. And when the UIC creates this new constitution, that truly protects the right of the individuals, such as yourself and everybody else that has been victimized by these governments, then persons will understand exactly what the UIC is talking about. And right now, my indignation, Mr. President, is high because I'm a believer in fairness and justice. I am a believer that the court is the highest arbiter of matters and should be given the opportunity to hear these most important matters. Other matters can come to quick mention, but yours have to languish. Look at the matter between the National Housing Trust and security guards. That is languishing in the courts. Guess why? Because serving justice to these security guards, mean that hundreds of thousands of commercial security guards in Jamaica, just like yourself, will now have justice on their side, and it will disadvantage the privileged few. So your case will not be mentioned anytime soon, neither will theirs. And I detest that as a true Jamaican. I give the
Yeah,
mic to you, Mr.
you,
President.
you are so right, Winston. You make the perfect case. Now, there are persons here saying I should appeal. There's no appeal.
None
We
whatsoever.
these we're really, many Jamaicans don't realize this enough, but we're really still in a sophisticated form of slavery with the master and the servants, the slave.
Indeed.
And they have ultimate authority. Like, for example, if we had a proper system of checks and balances where the judiciary was truly separate from the executive branch and the legislative branch of government, you could expect justice to be served. But as it is now, all you have to do is grease a man's palm and he decides where this falls on the schedule. Yeah? So if the Chief Justice tomorrow wakes up and decides that this is a paramount case, then it goes to the top. There's no objective system of saying what falls where on the calendar. So, for example, if the Prime Minister wants to quickly pass a NIDS bill, get that to the top. If, on the other hand, there's something of greater importance to the Jamaican people, like our human rights, the Prime Minister push that down. You
I,
understand?
I can demonstrate that just for the audience as well, Mr. President. When a clever person realized that the current Road Traffic Act and the fines thereunder weren't properly gazetted and took the matter to court, and the government found itself steering down a multi-billion-dollar refund to motorists who have been victims of their unscrupulous actions. In one day, the Road Traffic Act was amended and passed. One day, okay? The Data Protection Act, which affords privacy and protection to the citizens of Jamaica, cannot pass. It languishes in the House of Representatives. All right? The Electoral Reform Act languishes just the same, because these things does not serve the two criminal organizations that have occupied the houses of power for the past 77 years.
What we have is selective justice, which is no justice at all. And what we have is selective legislation. What we have is the situation where the the Prime Minister determines what moves and what doesn't move in this country. When I was on CVM some time ago and I told them that the government has control of the levers of the economy, that they are gatekeepers of the economy, I was quickly cut off and dismissed and ridiculed by the host on CVM TV. And here you are seeing it in living color, how corrupt the country is, and how much our political leaders are able to circumvent, override, and victimize any Jamaican as they see fit. So they saw it fit on September 22nd to arrest me, to single me out. There were 500 persons out there, and they saw it fit to single me out, having arrested three other persons willy nilly, just grabbing a few young people that they know they will be able to overpower in order to have cover to then arrest me. And in the process of arresting me, they simply tried to silence a political opponent. This is the first time in the history of Jamaica that the leader of a political party was going to be arrested by a post colonial government. You understand? And so here
Yes,
they were,
indeed.
a post-colonial government that is so, by a young prime minister that was born after independence, who told the Jamaican people that he was going to be very different from those who were before because he's from a younger generation that is post-independence. And if you look closely, what you're seeing is the current prime minister, who is a post-colonial prime minister, is every bit colonial as those before him and even more. And if you look at what happened during this so-called pandemic, anything that he wanted to happen immediately happened immediately. Anything that he wants to happen, any law, any rule, anything that needs to be effected. But whenever it comes to truly protecting the rights of the Jamaican people or providing for the interests of the Jamaican people, it moves very, very slowly. And there are many reasons why it has to move slowly and they can't get to it just now. For example, the conversion of Jamaica from a, what do you call it now, parliamentary democracy under the monarchy, that he now needs to send to committee for careful review and study, right? And they have to come up with a plan at some point in the future. Now, let me ask you, what have they been doing for the last 78 years when it comes on to transitioning Jamaica from what it is into a true republic? Why is it that everything which is in the best interest of Jamaica must take a very long time to be done? And here is one more instance of which they're doing the same thing by undermining the Jamaican people, by taking away our rights and freedoms, by delaying justice in our Supreme Court.
Now, you said the right thing, that the things that are in the interest of the people do not get their attention. And it's simply this. In 62, they handed us a document with constitution in brackets, which I've learned means that the word doesn't exist on the page. All right? And it's
Yes.
since joining the UIC that I came to that understanding, because all the years before that I've read, digested, and internalized that document, I thought it meant that I had rights. And you, Mr. President, educated me as to the reserved powers of the Queen that has invested in the Prime Minister, which makes him a supreme leader. And this Prime Minister is hell-bent on using all those reserved powers, including using them corruptly.
Yes.
Because they know, and I'm sure the Learned Council, both of them who are Queen's Counsel, that serves him. As a matter of fact, it's 3 Queen's Counsel he has that serves him and another at his disposal. I'm sure these Queen Counsel lawyers have said to him that even though the Constitution isn't worth the paper it is printed on, it still has merit as a piece of law, and these things you can't do. But because he's hell-bent on being a dictator, he said he has said it on a public stage that he's gonna do it and see, because these things need to be challenged in court. But guess what? He knows the court challenge will never come because he pulls those strings as well.
Absolutely.
What has happened to law in Jamaica since the days of plantocracy is simply this: more dark-skinned people are in law in Jamaica. It is still an old boys club and girl now that the privileged few are a part of, and they aspire to politics on the bench, and they all collude.
Absolutely.
How can you have a Queen's Counsel that is sitting in the Senate going to represent someone in a criminal matter? Are you lobbying against the government that you serve? You are the check and balance to the powers of the government. You are now conflicted in 2 ways. You are conflicted by service to the government against your client, and conflicted by service to your client against the government. And they don't see a problem with this. They have no sense of probity, no sense of decency. And the Jamaican people should understand that it's full time that we put a stop to this nonsense and demand that we be treated not as the darklings in the field, but as true Jamaicans.
Yeah, Lady Williams is asking, what are we going to do? Well, Lady, uh, Winston pointed out that one of the first things to do is to make sure that you contact your, well, we need to contact all the public uh, newspapers and television and radios, and we need to contact the Chief Justice, and we need to contact our Member of Parliament and ask them, are they in league with the human rights of the Jamaican people being violated by this delay in justice? And they all know about it, but still just tell them and pressure them in the ways that you can. Make sure you call in on all the radio programs and talk about this. Point out to the Jamaican people what is being done to them by this government. And let's get ready to take action where it counts. After all of this, if we do not remove these two parties using the electoral process, then we're still nowhere because they control the making of the laws and they control the implementation of the laws. So we have to make sure that we get rid of them from controlling the making or the implementation. This is key. Now, there are only two ways to change a society. One of the ways is what's happening in Russia and Ukraine right now. And the other way is by us using the very system, the instrument that they have put in place, which they call democracy. We use that system. Let's make sure that we tell all of our family and friends about the UIC. Make sure that we go out there and register people to vote. Make sure that we organize ourselves into solid groups in our communities to bring out the votes on election day and make sure we go out and we vote and protect the ballot box and supervise the ballot box and make sure that we actually fully and unequivocally change the government in the next election. Now, this thing against me, they're trying to damage me personally in the hope that if they cut off the head of the snake, then they destroy the whole thing. But what we must make sure happen, if they find a way to disqualify me from running, let's make sure we still elect every single UIC candidate that runs. You understand? So even if I am not elected, because they find a way, because for example, they can find ways and laws to say that they're going to use the fact that I have a pending case to try to bar me from running in an election. They're going to use everything, and don't put anything past them. They're going to try, the more powerful, the more popular the UIC become, is the more they're going to make an effort to stop us. Don't let them stop us, even if they stop me. So let's make sure that we work together in all 228 divisions across this country and elect. That's the most powerful way for us to take back our country. We mute your mic, Winston. We have to make sure we're seeing you sideways now. You turn sideways. So you might want to turn you. There we go. So we have to make sure, my friends, that we elect the UIC, whether or not I am allowed to run because they're going to try to stop me. But we have to make sure that we elect the UIC. Now, let's be very blunt and honest. They know the UIC does not have the money that they have. We can't beat them on money. We will never have enough money than them unless every single one of you here in Jamaica and abroad decides to donate, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50, $100 a month. If everybody donates. But it's very unlikely that we will have as much money as them. But what we have more than them, we have more people than them. There are 63% of Jamaicans who have not voted in the last election. And there are many of those who did vote who are no longer in tune with voting. Now, Winston, I know we're talking about this court thing, but I'm moving past the court thing a little bit, because the court is one thing. We know
True.
that the court is never going to give us real, true justice. Even in 2024, they're going to find something else to do. They're going to find another way. Right now, with our tax dollars, the prime minister and the opposition leader and the other 61 members of parliament and the 21 senators, and 228 councillors using our tax dollars. They are scheming how to deny the Jamaican people justice, how to prevent the Jamaican people from having another option on the ballot, how to make sure they continue to hold the country in their claws and be able to continue to milk us like they have done over the last 78 years. So we have to make sure, each and every one of you Francine Lawrence, you Yans, you Sophia, all of us, JMH, we have to make sure we do everything in our power to win the next election. That is very important. We must make sure, each of us, that we cause at least 10 persons to go to the poll and vote UIC on election day. And the only way to do that is to organize, organize, organize. Use word of mouth. Look what happened. They blocked us on YouTube for nearly 2 weeks. We just got back access to be able to come to you on YouTube. And as soon as YouTube freed us up, Facebook blocked us on every single account. Today, all accounts have been blocked. They don't tell us why. We can't see what is the reason. Why are you blocking us? But we've been blocked on every single Facebook account today. We can't do lives. We can post something, but they said no lives allowed on Facebook as of today. They have blocked us. 2 weeks ago or three, they blocked us completely on YouTube, Liberty TV as well. So the powers that be, they're coming after us. And now they're blocking us by denying us. Yeah? And they're trying to weaken me by having me go to court every day, 2 court sessions, not even one, 2 different court sessions at the local court level for Kingston and Mandeville. So they're trying very hard to keep me busy, to break my spirit, to cause me to get tired and walk away so that the Jamaican people will not have an option. They know that this is the first time in a long time the Jamaican people have a real third party option that they can vote for. And it's an authentic option. This is not a plaything third party. This is not like the NDM, which was a split from the JLP, with a leader that was just looking for an opportunity and as soon as it came, ran back to where he came from. They know the UIC is fully authentic. We're not PNP, we're not JLP, we're Jamaicans. They know that we're 100% committed to building a new Jamaica that will assert and protect and defend the sovereignty of the Jamaican people. And so they're doing all in their power to make sure that they
Yeah.
crush this movement,
Yes.
that they stop this movement, and we must not allow them. No, let me tell you this. Let's not fool ourselves. Let's not just say they can't stop us. They can stop us. They can crush us. But we have to decide to prevent them from doing it. And so we have to take real action. We can't hope and pray, Winston. We can't just hope that, let's hope the UIC succeed. Let's pray the UIC succeed. We have to get up and make sure that the UIC succeed. We have to go into the corners and crevices.
By our words.
Yeah, if you live in a Moko, go into the community. If you live in a Ray Town, go into the community. If you live in a Seaview Gardens, Tivoli, or Olympic Way, go in your community. If you live in where you come from, Winston, your place called again?
Betheltown.
Bethel, Westmoreland, or if you're in Alton Court in Hanover, or if you're in Give Me a Bit in Clarendon, you get out there and go and convince your friends, your neighbor, your enemy, and say we must vote for change in Jamaica because these 2 parties are committed. Look what they're doing. Look how they play games with our students in Ukraine. Look how they play games with one little boy. A nice video about his plight, and quickly them jump up to get political mileage out of it. Who are raised money to give him to go to school because they like to play games with the Jamaican people. Look how many people are suffering across this country. They don't need to see a video to know about the suffering across this country. They don't need, they should be just trying to send funds to help our kids in loans to our kids in Ukraine. Why are they in Ukraine? They're in Ukraine because Jamaica couldn't provide for them. Jamaica couldn't give them access to the education. They have to go away and try to get it. So they know that they're destroying the people and then they use us for political mileage. They are using poor people. Poor people. disadvantaged people, oppressed people for their political mileage, and we must stop them. We must stop
You
them.
see,
Listen, go ahead, Winston.
I'm reminded of a saying, Joseph, and I'll share it with everyone. And I'll use our local parlance. The same knife a sticky hog, sticky goat.
Yes.
And it simply means this. They will treat you the same way they treat others. And the way they are treating you, Joseph Patterson, the way they have treated the students in the Ukraine, the way they have treated the young man you spoke of, and the gentleman before that, tells a lot. And the way they have treated Jamaicans on a whole says that they will do it again and again. And they have been doing it for the greater part of 77 years.
Yes.
I'll share a story with you, Joseph.
Yes.
I know a lovely lady, minimal education, but hard worker. She farms. She has done a little shopkeeping. She has done some domestic work. She has tried to go overseas to work at one point. She has done everything to get her 3 kids through school. And for the past 2 years, she has been unemployed, not $1, neither from the government or through their various programs or through any other means of whether gainful employment or whatever. But not that she wants the government handout, because she's a uniter and she knows that it is better to earn your way than to receive charity, because charity is only temporary. Okay? And she has not worked for the past 2 years. And still she tries and she struggles. But guess what? Else in Jamaica that has suffered at the hands of the pandemic feels the way she does.
Absolutely.
Depressed, angry, and most importantly, hurt, because there isn't a system that allows the people to be first in the mind of our politicians. These borrowing neo-colonialists who have sold us into debt. And if persons want to understand how indebted we are, take a look at our program on Liberty TV that talks about the national debt. The figures are a bit outdated because this was about a year ago, but still relevant. Okay? They will understand what these persons have done to us when they borrow money from another country at interest rate and then pays that same country to do the work, which means the money didn't come into our hand. And at the same time, the work is substandard. And at the same time, some of it is funneled into their party's war chest. Okay? They will understand what this is doing to the country. And people say, should the 2-party do it? That should not be our excuse anymore. Jamaicans have not been allowed to feel like Jamaicans since before independence. The rich are just looking for somewhere to go to get away from the poor, so to speak. And the poor are just looking for an excuse and an opportunity to leave to make better for themselves. Nobody has been made to feel Jamaica is home and put systems in place to make us feel at home, meaning allow us to thrive, to use the God-given skills and talents that we have taken overseas to great success. You, Mr. Patterson included, myself, and several other uniters, because we have gone, we see the light, where corruption is not an everyday commonplace thing, or should not be an everyday commonplace thing in Jamaica. It should be frowned upon, it should be scoffed upon, and not accepted as boys as a way of life. And you go and look for a hustle. That way of living cannot serve everyone. It will only serve the connected few, as it has done. Where in the world have you gone and see a prime minister, a leader of a country that has only worked in politics all his life, and still at a young age, that has values, assets that rivals a Fortune 500 CEO? I say to these Jamaicans that a rich king in a poor country is no king at all, but rather the T word would apply. So you choose which one of the T words I'm talking. Understand this. We're at a turning point, and I have 3 kids that I will not accept the system for them. And if you hope for your kids and the child down the road and the child across the road and the child that lives behind you and the child you know from school that doesn't have it. If you accept that for them, you are doing a disservice and you're a traitor to the future of your kids and those kids. The UIC will bring that change, but we need your support. Mr. Patterson's case is just one example of the many levels of abuse that exist in this system, which we inherited from our slave masters. These weren't persons who meant us good. They treated us worse than cattle and traded us like livestock. And the same system of governance that they had that justified their wrongdoings and allowed them to exploit us is the same system our beloved politician, and I use that word facetiously, is using on us, and we're allowing them and accepting it. But the UIC will not accept it, and the UIC asks you not to accept it. Know your worth, know your value. It is time Jamaicans rise, stand up for your right, stand up and be counted. Stand up.
And what we have to do now is to know how to stand up. One of the ways of standing up right now is to make sure that you are an active, participating member of the movement.
Do you? Oh yes.
Is for you to get on your computer or to call that number on the screen, 876-293-0812, and say, I want to be a member of the UIC. I want to be a volunteer. I want to help the UIC to make sure that where I live in my community, on the election day, the ballots must read UIC first, and we don't care who comes second or third in your community. You have to make that a priority, and I'll tell you why. Every day that you wake up and you watch the 7:30 news on your TV, there is one party you will not normally hear about, and it's the UIC. Whether you're watching CVM or TVJ, you're not going to hear the word or the phrase or the acronym or the abbreviation UIC. You will not hear. Why will you not hear it? You will not hear it because there's a concerted effort being put on by the private sector organization of Jamaica, the elites of the PSOJ, that controls and runs our traditional media, who also funds the two major parties, and they're committed to ensuring that you do not hear about the UIC. So tonight, if you're living in USA, Canada, England, please know when you call home and ask your neighbors, ask your friends, you hear about the UIC? Many of them will tell you, no, I've never heard of it. Even though we have been around for such a long time, we're working hard. Remember, I know we can't reach physically. All of us in the UIC work full time elsewhere. We have a job. Winston is here with me. He just drove home from work. Okay, he has been at work from about 7 o'clock or 7:30 this morning. He has left out and has been at work. Tonight at 7:30, he drives in and rushes. He not eat dinner yet. He not sit down with his little child to help her with her schoolwork yet. His wife have to run in and prepare something while he's jumping on this call to appeal to us to get involved. Similar for me, I have to leave my business, my family, and come here and appeal to you. And there are more than 200 of us who are doing the same thing right now. I see some of them on tonight. I see Councillor Crawford, Vincent Crawford, one of our councillor candidate in Manchester. I think I saw Miss Wolf on earlier, one of our councillor candidates from and there's a number of others. Now, all of these persons are volunteering their time and effort to see if they can help Jamaica push forward in a new direction. The people that we are up against are full-time politicians who they have set themselves up powerfully. Many of them, for example, I won't call any names. There are some who have gas stations, some who have supermarkets, some who have trucks that they're leasing back to the government, some who have big amount of real estate that they have leased to the government. Okay, they have their hands fully on the treasure of Jamaica. And so when
On that, Joseph, let me interject right at this point. That,
yeah,
my friends, is called corruption because of the conflict of interest. Okay? Now, we can think back to the issue where government lands were going up for lease, and a member of the ruling party was able to access those properties, gain an agreement to use those properties for his personal enrichment. Now, what is wrong with that, you may ask? Unlike other Jamaicans, he knew well ahead of time that this would happen
yeah,
because of his ministerial portfolio. Unlike other Jamaicans that may have been interested, he has the opportunity and the influence to say, no, throw away or discard those applications and consider mine. He has the opportunity to say, tell me what is required so I can do it from now, so my application can get favorable consideration above others.
mm-hmm.
The playing field was not level, folks. Would you want to run a race and you're running up the hill and the other person is running down the hill? No, you would be at a decided disadvantage, and that is what is happening. They are using their position to create connections and influences that allows them to personally enrich themselves, and this needs to end. It needs
Yes.
to end right now.
So you're so right, Winston. I mean, so these guys, okay, we have a prime minister, we have an opposition leader, we have parliamentarians, we have public sector
Hmm?
workers who are very political, who have set themselves up very nicely. You see all those board positions? Those board positions give the political activists free money so that they can devote their time to politics. You understand? So when you sit on a board and you get $50,000 a month for doing nothing, that means you have the space and time to go and carry out the political activities of your political party. So the members of the UIC, we have no such help. We
None.
have we have no access to your tax dollars. We have no access to the money that come from the PSOJ elites to buy the politicians to do the bidding of the PSOJ elites. We do not. So when you see us working, we're working without the financial means to do so. I have one of my candidates call me. He wants $20,000 to rent a tent to do a program in his community right now. He's doing it, I think, on the 12th of March. 20,000, how much is that in US? 20 tent, so that he can house some young people to give them some ideas on how they can help themselves economically. And he needs $20,000. We don't have it to give to him right now. Okay? But he needs 20,000. You have another person, we have Roy Nelson over there in Trelawney. He has gone through every nook and cranny of his constituency until he's broke flat. You understand? All the money drained out of him. We have so many candidates who are doing their best on little or nothing. These are people, they're not big professionals with whole heap of money. And even if you're a professional in Jamaica, you don't have whole heap of money unless you're connected to somebody, in the government or through the opposition over time when they make their internal connections. So we the people are going to have to find a way around this. So if you're in the diaspora, first and foremost, pick up the phone. Call everybody you know in Jamaica. WhatsApp them. Tell them about the UIC. Send a video. Send a flyer. And then go into your bank account. $10, $20, $30 to fund the movement. If you're here in Jamaica, get up, stand up, and say, I want to help organize a group in my community to go out and get as many people as possible to join the movement and be a part of bringing out the votes on election day. I'm appealing to you. I'm being very straight. I'm not beating around the bush because we
So
have
am I.
no.
So am I.
You understand? We have no time to beat around the bush. We have to get at the crux of the matter. And the crux of the matter is we must remove those two parties and we must set up a new system to defend and protect the rights of the Jamaican people.
Now, persons especially in Jamaica may be wondering how can they get involved. And you said it, Joseph. Organize a group of 12, get in touch with the UIC or the councillor rep in your area, the councillor candidate in your area, and it's automatic from there. If there is the councillor rep, reach out to the UIC. We will work with you to help you organize to bring the UIC to your community. It is important that we get involved. We have seen politics depicted one way, where the candidates or the prospective candidates are connected and parachuted in from somewhere to pretend that they are Jesus to save you. The UIC understand that this is a fallacy that has been sold to you over the years. We choose candidates from your community who understands your plight, who lives amongst you, and our system of governance makes them responsible for representing your point of view, your plight, not to get elected, buy an SUV, and you hardly see them. Only once a year or once every 4 years if you're lucky. That's not the UIC way. Your member of parliament, when elected, he'll be responsible for your constituency, and that will be his sole responsibility. Your councillor candidate will be from your community, and his job, in addition to his local government duties, is to represent you, the constituents. And regular meetings are part of that representation, not once every 4 years or once in a while. Okay? We are making government more accountable. That is our plan.
More accountable, more accessible. Now, there's something big about to happen. On March 22nd, it will be 6 months to the day that we had our big march in Kingston, where we attempted to go to Gordon House to give a message to the government that they need to change. So on March 22nd, we are going to celebrate our attempt at getting our country on a new trajectory. So on March 22nd, we're going to have a major event. I want all of you to mark a very big event. I want all of you to mark your calendars right now. Put down March 22nd, UIC, and make sure you have a royal blue t-shirt, and make sure you have a pair of running shoes, and make sure you have a pair of jogging pants or whatever comfortable attire you can wear. Because on March 2nd,
I'm looking forward to it.
Wherever you are on March 22nd, now a lot of us are going to be in Kingston on March 22nd, but you don't have to be in Kingston, right?
No,
but
anywhere.
A lot of us will be in Kingston, but you don't have to be there if you can't be there. If you're in New York, it's okay. If you're
in London, it's okay.
If you're where? If you're in where?
If you're in London, it's okay.
If you're in London, it's okay. If
you're in Canada, it's okay.
Yeah. If you're in Mandeville and you can't make it to Kingston, it's okay. If you're in Santa Cruz and you can't make it to Kingston, it's okay. If you're in Montego Bay and you can't make it to Kingston, okay. But I want you to make sure you have your blue t-shirt, your running shoes, if you can, and your proper attire, so that you can be a part of a major event where everybody in Jamaica and around the world, Jamaicans here in Jamaica and around the world, are going to make a major statement that enough is enough, that we want a Jamaica that is one. We want a Jamaica with one set of laws for the rich and the same set of laws for the poor. We want one Jamaica where the prosperity is spread across all of us. We want one Jamaica where the government and the politicians are not superior to the people. They're the servants of the people. So we're going I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do yet, but mark it on your calendar for March 22nd. Get your blue shirt. Get ready to participate in the 6-month anniversary of the day that I was arrested, that the UIC stood up to this government, that the UIC stood up for our rights. And because we did that, we spared many Jamaicans from being forced to do what they did not want to do. Yes, many of us have suffered since, and during that period. There are some of us that were arrested, some of us that were given major fines, but we have stood firm and we have fought back in a positive way. So come March 22nd, Winston will be in Kingston. A number of us will be in Kingston, and we're going to have on our blue shirt. I
Yes.
can I can tell you where we're going to start. We're going to start.
Joseph, can I
Yes,
tell you? I already have my blue shirt.
good. Wonderful. So listen, they're trying to stop us, but they can't hold us back. Get your royal blue shirt, and whether you're in what Pell River, Anova, or whether you are in Duane Park, or whether you are in Riverton City, or whether you're in Constant Spring area, or whether you are in Otrias, or anywhere around St. Thomas or St. Mary or Portland, or Westmoreland, or Clarendon, or St. James, or Anova, it doesn't matter, or Trelawney, you are invited to be in Kingston, downtown Kingston, parade to be exact, 9 a.m. on March 22nd, because we are not going to go down silent. We are not going to go down, period. We are going to take back this country one way or another. And we're going to make sure that we have a united Jamaica, that we have a liberated Jamaica, and that we teach our people how to live a healthy life right here in Jamaica. Yeah? So mark it
Yeah.
in the calendar. March 22nd, we the people are going to stand up, and we're going to stand firm, and we're going to stand for one Jamaica, in Jamaica, and everywhere around the world where there is a Jamaica. Nobody will be left out. We want you to walk. We want you to be ready. We want you to be out in London, in New York, in Florida, in Toronto, wherever you are, Alberta, Winnipeg, wherever you are, Ontario, wherever you are, we want to have one Jamaica coming together in unity, in love, in a spirit of justice, where we say to those who are in charge of our country that it's time for a phenomenal change away from colonialism, away from division, away from corruption, and for the first time in the history of our people, a united nation of Jamaicans. And it doesn't matter where you're physically living, if you're a Jamaican, you're a part of this movement.
Indeed, indeed. I know all uniters who are involved in the planning already looking forward to it, and they're drumming up support. I'm
Yeah.
saying, get your royal blue shirt, get your fit gear ready. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your loved ones, tell them wherever they are to join us, because UIC stands for liberty, the UIC stands for freedom, and the UIC will always stand against those who wish to take that from the people.
And
So
Winston,
join us.
on everybody's t-shirt, make sure your t-shirt says no less than one Jamaica. If you can. If you can't, that's okay. But if you can get your t-shirt saying one Jamaica, please do. And you see that number on the screen, 87629300812, and you see the email info@uicjamaica. If you want, if you want a design of the logo already designed and prepared for printing to be sent to you, you just contact that number and we will send the design to you so you can get that printed on your own blue shirt. And you can get on your blue shirt, make sure it says One Jamaica, Stronger Together. If you don't have one, you can buy one on our website. If you want, we'll send you the stuff and you can print it where you are. Print it in London, print it in Toronto, print it wherever you are. We will send you the information and you print on your shirt One Jamaica, Stronger Together, and you have your UIC logo on there. Why am I telling you to put the UIC logo? Look at the logo carefully. What do you see? It's not just a map of Jamaica, it's a coming together. It's two hands coming together because it's time for us to break the divide. It's time for us to be no longer green or orange, left or right, but one. It's time for us to get over what they have implanted in our minds and become one Jamaica finally. And we, the UIC, we are going to, with your help, we are going to create a non-partisan constitutional Jamaica. We are going to make sure Jamaica becomes a true republic, not a fake republic like those before, but a true republic, one that protects your individual sovereignty. So let us not allow those who have been tricking us for years to trick us one more time into a fake republic. Don't allow them to come to us with no fake reform, constitutional reform, like they have done in Barbados. Let us make sure that when we change to a true republic and make Jamaica a truly independent country. Let us make sure that the new Jamaica we create is not beholden to the IMF. Let Jamaica we create is not beholden to the United Nations. Let us make sure that the new Jamaica we create will give us food security. Let's make sure that the new Jamaica we create will give us water security. Let's
Yes.
make sure that the new Jamaica we create gives us energy security. Let us make sure that the new Jamaica we create gives us an Afrocentric, liberating education system. Let us make sure that the new Jamaica we create gives a truly free market economy that protects our individual sovereignty and gives us the power we need and the freedom we need to become successful economically. Yes, Winston.
I just wanted to add, not to take away from what you're saying, that we've been sold a bill of goods when we were given a European education. The European knowledge, especially of science and mathematics, came from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be clear. So we are
Yes.
taking Jamaica back to our true roots,
Yes.
where the African race were mathematicians and scientists that created great architecture that is still a marvel today, that
Mm-hmm.
created the foundation for science and anatomy especially, and
Mm-hmm.
internal medicine.
We are going to undo the lie in our history. We're going to get our children to know once and for all the truth and greatness of our race. We're going to make sure they
Yes.
understand the origin of mathematics and science. And not just the origin, they're going to learn about the great inventors whose names have been scratched from the records and prevented from being written into the records at all. Our young people are going to realize and know for certain that we, the people of this pigmentation, are great people by design. And we, listen, and I'm not talking about racism here. I'm not speaking from a racial superiority. I don't believe in talking about any race being superior. So I don't believe in white supremacy or black
Or
supremacy.
black supremacy. True.
I believe in the human ability to do great things and the need for us to stop humans from doing evil things. We must have a system that protects us from those who wish to do evil, black or white, and which promotes and encourages those who wish to do good. Let's make sure we have a system that protects us from using force or fraud against any one of us, whether black or white. But I want to say this: we know that throughout history, our race have been suppressed and oppressed. Our history have been maligned and created a misinformation version of that history. And so we have to correct the misinformation. We have to correct our education. We have to get our children to fully understand themselves, body, mind, and character, and how to bring out the best in themselves. We have to ensure that our children learn how to build good, solid relationships, relationships in the home, marital relationships, good relationship with their friends, and good relations with business partners. And we must make sure that our children learn what is money, understand the relationship of money with economics and politics so that they can make solid financial decisions. Until we have done that, we are not doing justice to our people. There are two things missing from every Jamaican right now, the vast majority. We don't have financial intelligence the way we should have it, if any at all, and we don't have political intelligence, if we have it any at all. And so, what we have to do, we, the UIC, with your help, We have to re-engineer our people, re-engineer our society so that we have a Jamaica that brings out the best in all Jamaicans. And so, while Andrew Holness and Mark Golding and their two colonial parties have consistently fought against Jamaican people to the point where they're willing to throw their own people in jail simply for standing up for their rights and freedom, simply for peacefully protesting draconian measures which are contrary to human decency and dignity. The fact that they are willing, and don't get me wrong, Mark Golding is just as culpable as Andrew Holness. He sat there in silence. He sat there complicitly as the government pursued horrible measures against the Jamaican people. So he is as much responsible as Andrew Holness. So don't let them fool you. So hear me now. They have done tremendous harm to the Jamaican people over the last 78 years. It is
And
time now for us to come together and to say enough is enough. And the only way to do that is to give them a permanent break from Gordon House, a permanent break from Parliament. That's the only way to do that. Winston.
yeah, and we as Jamaicans, we need to make sure that we don't forget, because what we see now is the 63 members of parliament are slowly and surely working to make the Jamaican people forget the 2+ years of subjugation that they had us under.
Yes.
Okay? But we should not forget, and most importantly, we should not let them forget. Each time we speak to them, we should remind them, and the next time we vote, we should remind them even more.
And remind them that while they are dragging me through the courts, while they are delaying justice for the Jamaican people, we have a former agricultural minister who broke the same rules that they set, that he was a part of. He broke their rules. And what did he get for it? A temporary reprieve from his ministerial post and a quick reappointment into cabinet.
Promotion.
And a promotion. And he's not being dragged through the courts. Yeah? So what we saw also, we saw a major corruption challenge in the education ministry. And again, they find ways to defer justice while paying and funding these persons at the expense of the public. So we know that they're up to no good. And now it is time for us to do good. We, the Jamaican people, must do good by ourselves. Nobody's going to come to help us. There is no foreign power who is going to come to liberate us. There's no Messiah who's going to come to liberate us. We must liberate ourselves. Let us not allow this movement and this moment to pass us by. And so, as I get ready to leave you tonight, my friends out there, wherever you are, I want you to know that everything that we're doing here today, everything here
It's for you.
is going to determine your future, my future, our future. There are many of you who want to come home right now. You're in another man's country. You have learned how to survive. You have provided for your family. You have built maybe a good career. But at this point, you feel it in your bones that it's time to come home. You want to come home, but you know you can't come under the current conditions. And so you're saying to yourself, what can I do? Well, here's what you can do. Join hands with me and my fellow uniters in the United Independence Congress of Jamaica, and let us take charge of our country. Let us build the Jamaica we want. Let us create the future we desire, and let us bequeath to our children something much better than we were born into. We can do it. We must do it. I encourage you all to join us, Winston and I, and all the rest of us in the UIC. Let's get it done. We can do it. Yes, Winston, what you say?
Definitely, we can do it and we will do it, because the future of Jamaica, the future of the next generation of my kids, your kids, and their kids depend on us succeeding. And we will not. The United Independence Congress will not accept anything but success. And success for us is measured in the amount of rights we imbue and the amount of rights we restore.
Yes.
So
And
please
nothing,
join us in that effort. Also, Joseph, I'd like to invite members of the diaspora who are listening and wondering, how can I hear more? How can I
yes,
find out more? Call that same number, write to that email address, and share your email address, and we will invite you to one of the many forums that we host with diaspora members to explain the principles of the UIC, the philosophies of the UIC, how you can participate in the programs of the UIC, and most importantly, how we will change Jamaica to foster your return home.
absolutely. It's so nice to actually meet with members of the diaspora. We have these little sessions from time to time. Some persons just put together a group of 10, 15, 20, 30 persons, and we meet with them and talk about what we're doing and how they can participate. So get involved. We can all play a part and make Jamaica a better place. So, my friends, thanks again. Remember, March 22nd, 9 a.m., Kingston, or wherever you are, in your blue t shirt, your royal blue t shirt, your t shirt of peace, your t shirt of oneness. One Jamaica, stronger together. Have a
One
good night.
Jamaica.
One Jamaica.